Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another brand new episode of the Eastlake Animal Education Centre. It's probably been about a week since the last episode, if I'm on schedule. But it's actually been quite a while since I've recorded an episode myself. I got ahead, so I was able to take a bit of a break. Good job I did, because I needed it. I've been to a couple of different zoos in real life. I've been continuing to record more Eastlake Animal Education Centre episodes. And I'm also recovering from tonsillitis, so if my voice gives out at any point, I do apologise. I'm mostly recovered now. It just still gets a bit croaky every now and then. But we'll see how far we get. So this episode, we're working on the entrance hall for the Reptarium, which is a name that I have now abandoned. I like it, the Reptarium, but there's more than just reptiles in here. You know, there are insects as well and arachnids, so it needs a different name. I haven't come up with a name yet, so the building is just called Reptiles, Insects, Amphibians and Arachnids, I think, if I remember off the top of my head. But yeah, we're just building for the Danube crested newt here. And I wanted a really sort of natural, not very themed sort of exhibit for them. So we've gone for two exhibit boxes, purely because we're working with like money in this series, and the exhibit animals breed really well, and you can enable the auto management tab, and the young will be sold for you. So it's a nice source of income for us. It's of course something that happens in the real world. Not so much selling per se, but a zoo will have a number of animals, and then they will say, oh well, we'll have 3 of your capybaras if you want 12 of our Danube crested newts, stuff like that. And here, the Herman's tortoise. Again, I wanted that same sort of reclaimed, recycled, ecologically friendly sort of vibe going on here. So we use a lot of these Australian planks, which have this really nice texture on them. So the Danube crested newt is sort of the odd one out in terms of exhibit design in the entrance hall. So the Herman's tortoise and the fire salamander, their exhibits jut out from the wall, whereas the Danube crested newt is sort of set in the wall. There was a strange pause there because I had my letterbox go, and I'm not used to getting post on a Saturday. So but yeah, I hope you've all been well. I've been well besides the stress from work and tonsillitis, but yeah, I've been well visiting zoos and wildlife parks. I think since I've recorded the last episode, I've been on 3 zoo trips, so yeah, that's good going. So here, this is my attempt to make a custom floor, and I followed Adam Up's tutorial. Actually, he was another YouTube creator. I wasn't able to get it right for a long time, which is why I haven't included any more footage of the custom floor other than this, but you will see how it turned out, and I am relatively happy with it. It's just sort of the height of the floor to cover the path. There's nothing I can really do about that at the moment, unfortunately, unless we raise the terrain under the path so that the path sits flat and then we don't get the curb on the path. And there's the finished floor. And here I'm just filling this middle bit up with water. If you recall in the last episode, the centerpiece to this building is based on the Reptarium in Ueno Zoo, I think it is, or Ueno Zoo in Japan. Just purely architecturally, for that little bit, I really liked it. I'm not the biggest fan of their apparent lack of animal welfare, but certainly the entrance hall in the Reptarium in Ueno Zoo is fantastic. So we've got the water in. I've changed the transparency so it's super clean water, and then putting the path back in underneath, and then I'll put some barriers in so guests can't walk through that, but they will be able to walk right up to it and around it. And now we're just putting a nice little topper on it. So I go for this temple stone. It's a nice sort of colour, it's a nice texture. It's got the right width and length. And then into that we also sink some glass panels, just to stop people from dropping coins in it and doing other destructive things that people tend to do to bodies of water. So you're still able to see the centerpiece, which I didn't record any footage for, just because I didn't have a design in mind. It sort of came to fruition as I was doing it. But you'll still be able to see the centerpiece. You just won't be able to, or shouldn't be able to, toss anything into the water. So after this episode, we've got one more for East Lake, and then we're switching over to Dunswell Zoo. We're going to spend a bit of time in Dunswell Zoo, sort of doing the Himalayan area, and probably a bit of planning. We're going to need a bit of planning if we're going to fit everything else in. So that'll be an interesting one. So we've got the Ussuri Dole next for Dunswell Zoo. So if that's your fancy, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss when that video goes live. And if you do like this video, hit that like button, it really helps me out. It does help the channel grow as well, because of the engagement. Ooh. And yeah, I just hope you're all enjoying it. The East Lake videos never perform as well as the Dunswell videos, so I'm not too bothered. But certainly, for those that do watch, I would like your feedback. So here, we're just adding a little bit of a modern twist now onto the fire salamander habitat. So we've still got that reclaimed look with the Australia planks, but this time we're adding the European marquee beam to sort of frame the glass, and then we add a double topped border, which I really like the look of, and it came around purely accidentally. It wasn't going to be part of the design, but just sort of moving the pieces into position, I thought, oh, that'd look really good, and so I go ahead and do it, and I do really like how it looks, and it's something I might do for other exhibit species at some point in the future. The next episode of East Lake is the Desert Hall, and after that, when we return to East Lake, it will be the Tropical Hall and the Butterfly Journey. Here's what I was talking about with the double topped border. So we put that in, and then we lower that down a bit more. I just really like how that looks, so we'll go ahead and add it. So that's it for the entrance hall. Obviously I didn't record the centerpiece, that's the only thing that's missing, and a little bit of decoration. Instead, we're making covers for the donation bin, the Habitat Education Board, and the talk point. So the cover for the talk point is inspired by the polar bear keeper talk point at Yorkshire Wildlife Park. So it's like a little hut thing that fits one person, and they can sit down on a chair, and there's like space for a microphone, and that's it essentially. It's a really small little building, and it's on the bridge. It's sort of in between two polar bear habitats. You've got one behind the talk point and one in front, and I really wanted to theme our talk points for East Lake on that. Obviously our educators in the game, they don't sit down, so the need for a chair was negated, so we can do something else with it instead. So I'm using a lot of the Twilight pieces for these, because we want to keep the theming sort of consistent between, you know, the talk point, the habitat education boards, and the donation bin covers. I've also got the 2 signs as well, the keep quiet and don't feed the animals, but I can sink those into the ground, so I haven't made a cover for those just yet. But there's our talk point, and I don't like the little bar that's poking through, so we're just gonna add a piece of wood from the tropical pack, if I remember correctly, to sort of cover that. Is it the tropical pack? No, it's the North Africa pack. It's the arbor pieces. Yep, put that in and then push it back. Just so it covers that. Yep. Change the colour of it. And here I'm trying to put a sign in. Unfortunately all the signs are too big and nothing really sort of gives off the vibes of, you know, keep a talk. So I might have to create my own sign, I think. Yeah. It just doesn't look great. And everything else is too big. What would have been great. Story of my life. But yeah, just everything's too big. So we don't end up having a sign on there, but you're just gonna have to watch me do trial and error, because why not? So for the donation bin cover, I just copied over the talk point cover, and we're just gonna adjust everything as we do and as we can. Yeah, just moving the pieces into position, making sure it's not too big or too small. Just gonna pop that in place there. And we're gonna go ahead and pop a lid on it. Yep. I've adjusted the sides, and then we need to pop a lid on it. And then we make a little like implied slot where you'd post your money. It's always such a strange thing, donation bins, because some zoos have them and others don't. Like just for example myself, of the 3 zoos I've been to this year, only one of them has donation bins. The other two, the donations are optional. So you would like use it, like be asked at the gift shop, oh, do you want to make a donation? Or you could just go up to the gift shop and say, I'd like to make a donation, stuff like that. Whereas Chester is the one that does have the donation bins. They're sort of spotted mainly in Realm of the Red Ape, is where I've seen them. They're very nicely themed, I will say that much. Yeah, I've got a nice little slot where you would post your money in, your coins and your notes. And then for the Habitat Education Board, I wanted a really thin piece of wood, so we head back to the Twilight Pack and we use, I think it's some portcullis wood, potentially. I can't actually read what it says from here. But yeah, we just get that adjusted into place and we go ahead and make sure it's all lined up. Eventually, he says at some point. Yeah, so we just want to make sure it's as flush as possible, but also with no Z fighting. It's a very finicky game when it comes to Z fighting. Yep, pop a stand in. I was thinking about having it just as one legged, but then I thought, So then I go ahead and put 2 legs in. I understand that the 2 legs aren't sort of the same distance apart from the edges, so it doesn't look symmetrical. I have gone ahead and fixed that. And then just on the back, even though you probably won't see the back, just for an additional bit of detail, I do put a brace on the back, which is what you're seeing now. So I go for that smaller one, and then I was like, oh, is there a bigger one? And there is, and it fits perfectly. So it's a nice way to sort of tie everything together. And then generic planters for the Eastlake Animal Education Centre. So I was really inspired by Chester Zoo for this one. They've got planters potted. They've got planters dotted around sort of the older area of the zoo, sort of behind the Madagascan area, near the Komodo dragon, stuff like that. And their planters look like they're made from reclaimed wood, and they're just absolutely gorgeously designed, and I wanted to have something like that in Eastlake. So initially, again, we go for this sort of rustic, reclaimed, rough sort of look with the Australian planks, the individual planks. In the end, we actually go for the Australian plank panel from the building set rather than the individual planks that you see in here. It's got a nice mismatched sort of texture. So yeah, there's that one, but that looks too clean, so I'm not happy with that one. I like that one, but it's not quite the vibe we're going for. They're all individual pieces, so that's a no-no. And then I can't find what I'm looking for, so I have to type it in. And there we go, it does come up. That's what I'm looking for. It's that sort of multicoloured, mismatched, higgledy-piggledy sort of feel. It really sort of sells the reclaimed vibe. You know, these plants have been made from scraps of wood that have been donated, or scraps of wood left over after construction projects and things like that. And that's definitely the vibe that I was going for. So we just make it fit this planter, but we will get rid of the actual planter itself. And we're just going to keep the frame, essentially. And then we do add some of the singular planks at the bottom, because obviously it's floating at the moment. That's not something we want. So So to keep it at the same height, but add a little bit of definition. We pop one of these planks in right at the bottom, and it really gives it the sort of definition I was looking for. Yeah, it looks like they've purposely designed it so that the roughest wood is at the bottom, and then all the smoother pieces of wood make up the majority of what the guests are going to see. And then we just frame it at the top, again using some of that twilight wood. And then we go ahead and pop our mulch in, which was actually quite a nightmare because there was a lot of Z fighting going on. So first was getting it into position, and then second was making sure there's no Z fighting, and then third we sunk it down a little bit because we didn't want it right up to the lip. I do want it to be slightly below the lip. So yep, just rotating things, making sure there's no Z fighting. And then once we've got it in, we select it all and we just lower it down. And that brings us to the cinematics of this episode. So I shall see you all in just a second for the cinematics. So here we are with the finished entrance hall for the Eastlake Animal Education Centre's reptiles, amphibians, insects and arachnids. So we've got the planters outside, we've got the ramp and the two staircases, and then inside you've got this lovely centrepiece with some statues on. Your fire salamander, your Herman's tortoise, your Danube crested newt, and then you've got the entrances to the tropical hall, the desert hall, and the butterfly journey. And then this is what the building looks like from the outside, which the guests will never see. So thank you very much for watching, my friends. Please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and helps the channel grow. That can only be a good thing. You can find me on Instagram at jw_yt, or you can find my wildlife photography at jw_wildlife photography. Until the next time, my friends, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay kind, and bye for now.